Next on Worcester News Tonight, a local researcher is studying how some veterans and disabled veterans are using medical marijuana. Plus, the verdict in the House of Horrors case, the fate of the Blackstone mother who had 3 dead babies inside of her home. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Anna Botari. A local researcher is looking into how medical marijuana may benefit disabled veterans. Cannabis Community Care is conducting surveys in hopes of finding alternative sources of healing for those injured while serving the country. They hope their research can make a significant impact on the opioid crisis. Our Cam Jandro is live in Worcester tonight with more details. Cam?
Anna, veterans are 3 times more likely to die of an opioid overdose. This coming from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. And it's numbers like those that has these researchers looking into more alternative ways to treat these veterans when they return from service.
Worcester-based research network C3RN is studying medical marijuana use among veterans. So far, they've had more than 100 vets take their survey.
67% of those report using medical cannabis to reduce the use of unwanted prescription medications or over-the-counter medications.
Dr. MCNABB shared C3RN's studies with clinicians and veterans organizations. She says the goal of the research is to identify the potential medical benefits of cannabis.
There are alternatives, but it's not for everybody, and we understand that. There's a need to really work with each individual.
Iraq War veteran Stephen Mandilli is president of Alternative Treatment for Veterans. He was also the first to buy recreational marijuana from Leicester's Cultivate last November.
The fact that we have a substance here that is non-toxic but less available than an opioid is really a problem.
Disabled American Veterans represents about 28,000 disabled vets here in the state. They're hoping C3RN's study can find a better way to treat pain.
The side effects from the opioid, it really affects their lifestyle, their family interaction, the fact that they get very depressed, they're kind of lethargic, they don't sleep very well.
We're trying to take an innovative approach to data and data use and really look at these issues that are really a public health emergency.
Now, C3RN says they hope to continue that research with local veterans in hopes of showing healthcare providers the benefits of medical cannabis. We're live in Worcester tonight. I'm Cam Jandro. Anna, back to you.
Thanks for that report, Cam. Well, now to an update on a story we brought to you on Tuesday. A 16-year-old has been charged in connection to recent car break-ins Oxford. According to police, the teen is charged in connection with 3 of the incidents. Home surveillance video from one of the victims shows a person going through her car and at the same time someone trying to get into her family's other car. Police say there were 8 to 10 reports of suspects going through cars left unlocked in the area of Minuteman Lane. The investigation is still active. If you have any information, you're asked to contact Oxford Police. Worcester wants to hear from its residents on how the city should prioritize federal funding over the next 5 years. 10 meetings will be held across all of the city's districts. Residents will have the opportunity to sit down with city employees and discuss what needs to be met in each neighborhood. The meetings will cover a variety of topics, including street repairs, housing, neighborhood revitalization.
The City of Worcester receives millions of dollars in federal funds, over $6 million every year. Those funds can be divided into different uses and for different programs, but most of them basically we call community development programs, which are programs to help improve the quality of life for people who are low to moderate income in the city. So it can go from everything from parks to sidewalks to streets to social service programs.
Thursday was the first of 2 5-year consolidated plan meeting in District 1. The next meeting will take place July 10th at the city's Senior Center. You can find when your district will be having a meeting on the city's website. The rising costs of rent in Massachusetts lands the state on the 2019 Out of Reach report. The state ranks 3rd in the report from the National Low Income Housing Coalition. It found the average 2-bedroom apartment costs nearly $1,800 a month. In Worcester, the cost to rent a 2-bedroom home costs around $1,200 a month and requires a salary of $48,000 a year. The numbers are based on a person not spending more than 30% of their income on rent. Today, a judge delivered the verdict in the House of Horrors murder trial. It's a case we've been closely watching. Prosecutors say 3 dead babies were found inside Erica Murray's home in 2014. Our Rosalind Flaherty was in court today for the verdict announcement.
I find her not guilty of the murder charge.
Judge Janet Kenton Walker delivers the closely watched verdict in the so-called House of Horrors murder trial. She found Erica Murray not guilty of second-degree murder of her child.
This case involves a senseless, tragic story about a dysfunctional parent and her family. Regardless of how disturbing the facts surrounding this case are to the community at large, and to me as a parent, I cannot take into account those feelings.
In 2014, a neighbor found a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old covered in feces inside Murray's Blackstone home. Investigators later found 3 dead infants hidden in closets.
There was no evidence of any of those children dying as a result of anything she did.
Judge Kenton Walker believes Murray suffers from a personality disorder. Prosecutors had argued against that. She also found her not guilty on 2 counts of reckless endangerment of a child, charges relating to her 2 oldest children. Judge Kenton Walker did find Murray guilty on 2 counts of assault and battery on a child for her 2 younger children, as well as guilty on 2 counts of animal cruelty. While Murray's defense attorney says this was a victory of sorts for his client, he says it's not a happy day for anyone.
She lost her kids, and she, despite what that house looked like, despite the lives those kids led, she loves those kids. And so for her, this tragedy is forever.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
Construction on a downtown theater is expected to move forward after the Worcester Business Development Corporation raises additional funding. These renderings from the WBDC show what the future black box theater will look like. They bought the Franklin Street building in 2011 for $300,000 and have already added several businesses and organizations. The WBDC recently received more than $1.4 million in donations for the theater. They're hoping to raise another $500,000.
Obviously, having Mechanics Hall and having the Hanover Theater is a good, solid foundation, but there's also the need for smaller type black box theaters for plays and an appropriate venue for smaller acts.
The theater is expected to be completed in 2020. Kelley Square and Union Station are among the central Massachusetts transportation areas receiving more state money. The Massachusetts Department of Transportation's board announced they've approved a 5-year capital investment plan worth more than $18 billion. It will guide investments in the state's transportation system between fiscal years 2020 and 2024. The Kelley Square Improvement Project is in line to get more than $17 million under the plan. The Union Station Design Project will receive more than $4 million. MassDOT says almost half of the total investment will focus on the reliability and resiliency of core transportation systems. Massport narrows down the search for a new CEO, announcing today there are 2 finalists for the position. Massport's board is expected to pick a candidate on June 27th. The screening committee selected 2 Boston area locals, Lisa Weiland and Brian Goldman. The board says more than 100 people applied for the position. John Prankavicius has been serving as acting CEO and will continue in the role until a new CEO begins work. He will return to his previous position as the authority's chief financial officer. Girl Scouts from Central and Western Massachusetts are honored Thursday for their leadership and dedication to their communities. 12 girls received a Gold Award for addressing a significant problem in their community, with a plan to sustain the work for years to come. Monty Tech senior Kelsey Agri received her award for starting a music program at her high school her sophomore year. Agri started with the organization as a brownie and says Girl Scouts have played a big role in her life.
We made long-lasting friendships and learned a lot of skills, especially with all the badges that we've done. Outdoor skills and community service projects, and just learning how to find out who I am as an individual and who I want to be.
And what they learn and what they've learned through getting these awards is that one girl can actually make a big difference in the world. And that's what they've done.
There were also the silver awards given out tonight. Well, switching gears now, a close call in Oxford when a driver steps on the gas instead of the brakes. Her car slammed into a gas station in town. Police tweeting out this picture, saying thankfully no one was injured. Our Chandler Walsh has the story.
Surveillance video captures a car backing into an Oxford convenience store, the impact shattering a glass window. Police say the car hit the cash register counter, setting off the fire suppression system. It released powder from the gas station canopy, covering the entire lot.
So when you pull up, I mean, we're getting people call, I think there's an explosion. Why? Because I see nothing but white smoke at the store.
Definitely weird. Definitely strange. Nothing I've ever seen before.
Kevin O'Rourke works across the street. He was there earlier before making his morning delivery.
I came back and someone backed into the fire extinguishing unit.
Lieutenant William Marcelonis says the driver was trying to back into a spot, but when she went to brake, she accelerated. He says she's a regular at the convenience store, stopping there every day for lottery tickets and tea.
I'm sure this will be a running joke with the operator and the employees of the store because they see each other every day.
A store employee had walked away from the register moments before the crash.
But the biggest thing is you're talking plate glass windows. If she had been standing there, there's no doubt in my mind somebody would have been injured.
Police say the accident could have happened to anyone, and luckily no one was hurt. They're urging drivers to pay attention to safety features like backup alarms, but not to rely on them.
Become so relaxed now, we become complacent, and we're not aware of vehicles around us. We're not aware of pedestrians around us.
Chandler Walsh, Worcester News Tonight.